Cravat Jewelers is stepping up to support Los Angeles in a time of need. They're directing 100% of the proceeds to the foundation's Palisades Relief Fund, providing a sanctuary and care for pets and wildlife displaced by the disaster. By purchasing a LA Hearts pendant, you're not only wearing a piece of LA spirit, but also helping to provide shelter, medical care, and safety for animals in need. Join Cravat Jewelers in making a difference. Together, we can help protect LA's beloved pets and wildlife. Visit cravatjewelers.com to learn more or purchase your pendant today.
Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data, and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, you guys, we are getting excited because Valentine's Day is around the corner, and that means I will be in New York City. I have such a great show, so many funny things. This is stand-up. This is a little bit of housewives fun. It's a combo show. I'm going to be there in New York City, February 14th. 15th is DC. 16th is Red Bank, New Jersey. Also, March 1st, I will be at Agua Caliente in Palm Springs. All that is at heathermcdonald.net. Those tickets are going fast, thank goodness. But please get your tickets. It's going to be so much fun. You will not regret it. You'll be the happiest people ever. But now for our show. You guys have been asking, why don't you bring on Zack Peter? He is the expert of the Blake, Justin, and Ryan Reynolds saga. And thank goodness he's already been a Juicy Scooper coming on the show, but you have done some really great work in this. Your videos are doing great.
Thank you.
And of course, I've talked a lot about it, but listen, people, don't tell me you're bored by this because you can't be.
No.
And there's more and more and more info. And I even spent more hours this weekend. And I have my own crazy theory that I cracked last night that nobody else has done that I'm so excited to share with you. But let's get into it all from the beginning.
Okay.
Because I said in the beginning, when I first heard about Blake filing a lawsuit, her complaint, I was really drawn to the facts that were shared by New York Times based on her complaint about a possible smear campaign.
Okay.
I was never totally convinced about sexual harassment, because I did think, wow, that's kind of a hard thing to gauge when you're playing romantic partners and intimate courting, but all that. But I did go, gosh, I mean, I do remember these things coming out and old videos coming out, and I understand how bot farms and things work.
Yeah.
So I did think that either Justin was guilty of that or his people were guilty of it.
Okay.
And then when he was like, screw this, and he filed his lawsuit, I started to see a little bit more of the full text, the this, the that. And I still was giving it like, hey, I think they're both thirsty and weird. But now
You've seen the light.
I am here to say I have seen the light, and I am glad that he stuck up for himself. And I am glad that he has all these facts and that he's not backing down, because now it's a whole nother story that I think really involves Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively's husband.
Yes.
So now, tell me your journey in covering, because you really have read all 179 pages and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it feels like 500 pages because of all the different lawsuits. But no, so I immediately, my friend Daily Dose of Donna sent me the complaint as soon as it dropped in the New York Times. And she's like, oh my God, you have to read this. And I was like, I couldn't care less. I'm like, it's Christmas. Blake Lively. I'm like, I don't know if I believe this.
I have one question.
Yeah.
And I am going to be interrupting because that's what we do on the show. I have a question.
That's part of a conversation.
Okay. Because the movie came out in
August, right?
Was it August?
July or August.
Okay. So I saw the movie right when it, like, before the lawsuits. I saw the movie. So that would have been maybe like end of November or something. I saw it at my house. And I've said I didn't think it was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was lame. I did fast forward through the flashback parts. I only liked the parts with her and Justin.
Yeah.
But I saw all the parts with her and Justin, which is what this is about. So I have seen the movie. I have not read the book. My question is to you. I felt like the little bits that we saw about her being a bitch and not having shitty interviews in the past and being this prima donna, I feel like that chatter had stopped.
Yeah, people stopped talking.
It stopped. So why do you think they did choose to do the initial lawsuit?
Well, it wasn't a lawsuit. So what happened, and I'll point out the red flags that I noticed when this dropped in the New York Times, which I'm surprised somebody as savvy as you did not, like, this was like screaming red flags from the beginning. So first up, it gets dropped in the New York Times, right?
Right.
Who did the expose on Harvey Weinstein? So I think this was their attempt to try and create another similar scandal, okay? Because
Ryan
the New York
and
Blake,
okay.
Correct. Because when the article dropped, it, one, didn't have the traditional paywall that the New York Times normally has, and two, somebody that reads a lot of celebrity lawsuits and scandals dating back to, like, the Girardi, Erica Jane stuff, which is where I first got my Elle Woods, my Elle Woods toes, my toes wet in that. And so I was like, wait a minute, it's normally not this easy to obtain a full lawsuit from a celebrity. And
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
Because we know that he is suing them for $400 million.
Correct.
He's suing the New York Times for defamation based on their coverage of it for how much?
Undisclosed.
Okay. And we don't know what is it? Is she suing him for money, Justin, and his production company?
Yes,
what is she suing? And we don't know how much?
We don't know how much.
Okay.
So it's basically the judgment will be determined in court.
Got it.
He's the only one that has set a number in his lawsuit. Her damages are undisclosed. His lawsuit against the New York Times damages undisclosed. TBD in court.
Okay.
And so, but from the beginning, I was like, no more paywall in the New York Times. Easy to download. Like, it was the easiest lawsuit I've ever been able to obtain.
Interesting.
And being from the New York Times, I was like, this is just kind of strange. They published all of the text messages. I was like, this feels very reminiscent of Rose McGowan, Harvey Weinstein. And I was like, it feels a little too accessible for people to just read through, right? Which I believe was the intention. They wanted any Joe Schmo, anybody on TikTok to just download it, read it, take it as fact. Because most people don't realize anything that you claim in a civil lawsuit doesn't have to be proven until it's actually in court. So you can claim anything. And then it wasn't an actual lawsuit. It was a CRD complaint. So it was basically a precursor to oh my God, why am I blanking on what CRD? Civil rights discrimination complaint.
Okay.
And so it's basically a precursor in California to file the lawsuit. And so people are like, oh, it's that, precursor. She's going to file. She's just waiting for approval from the state.
So someone could argue this was her quote unquote smear campaign.
Correct.
By just
which is what I thought.
Okay.
Which is what I thought from the beginning, because I was like, it's not an official lawsuit. The New York Times seems to be really interested in this, and they're not presenting anything from his side other than his statement at the end of the article. And so I was like, so right away, I have questions. Like, there were just a lot of red flags that I didn't buy it right away. And then when he came out with his lawsuit against the New York Times, I was like, okay, I get it. And then you see, like, the New York Times contacted him at 10 p.m. the night before the article dropped and said, you have until noon tomorrow to give us your side. And then they ended up publishing the article 2 hours earlier than that time frame that they gave him to respond. So that's part of why he's suing, is for promissory fraud, where they, told him he had a deadline and then they published it early. But so then reading his document, we saw more context to the text messages. And I was like, okay, now it makes a little more sense. We're seeing that her team kind of doctored some of the text messages. They edited out an emoji. They retyped them out in her lawsuit, whereas his lawsuit shows the actual screenshots of the messages. And then they show that the screenshots have a lot more messages that were omitted in her versions of them. And so I was like, okay, I'm starting to believe him a little bit more. And then when we got his lawsuit against her and Ryan Reynolds, I was like, oh, I think Ryan Reynolds is maybe has a bigger hand in this than, they want us to believe. And then you look back at like how he inserted himself into the promotion campaign and how he brought Hugh Jackman to the premiere to like take photos on the step.
Yes,
it was also strange.
Since you're on that, let's talk about that, because that is something that, I didn't really notice. Yes. Did she, wear the Britney Spears dress? And she said, I got this Britney Spears dress because I'm just such a fan of hers. Now we know that actually Justin Baldoni was a huge fan and
Mm-hmm.
talked about her incessantly and what she meant to him growing up and everything. Coincidental, whatever. The dress looked great, okay? And then she has her husband, who's a huge star, and they have 4 kids, so they're like established couple. He's wearing, and he's on the red carpet. Not weird.
Yeah.
We also know that Justin, because there was this conflict by the end of the movie, that we don't know if there was conflict. Well, I guess they knew there was conflict because of the cut.
Yeah.
So there was conflict at the end of the movie. They got Blake's cut is what we saw. She was EP and star, and he was star and director. We didn't get to see his cut. So we know he and his family are with the, well, how do you pronounce that really bad water? Dasani?
Dasani?
They're there with all the Dasani crates in the room.
In the basement.
And yes, I also noticed that, I saw a clip of somebody where he is interviewing the other guy that played her her high school romance.
Yep.
We see him, he's the chef at the restaurant. And he's interviewing him about the movie, which I thought was weird. And I'll be honest, again, full disclosure, have never seen Deadpool.
No.
I remember Ryan Reynolds from The Proposal, which was the dumb dry bar movie, and I didn't find him particularly funny or whatever, cute, whatever.
Yeah.
But now he's seen as this, hilarious comedic actor. And I feel like he's, really believes that.
Yeah.
And as a comedian, there's something that I don't think there's anything more awkward or dangerous than when people, especially women even, think that they're really funny and they're not, and it's not landing. And that is Blake, because she's hanging out with him, and now he thinks he's funny, but he's kind of one note.
Yeah.
He kind of does this thing. And so he goes, what is this? And he shows this photo of, I believe it's the other guy's ass, but it could have been Justin.
No,
Baldoni.
it wasn't Justin's ass. It was the other love interest guy.
And he goes, look at your ass. Are there pumpkins in there? What is that about? Well, then in doing this other girl, this was Candace's. Okay, this was Candace Owen, has now left the political sphere and is hopping off get off our jock, girl. Anyway, she said, of course, Justin Baldoni has an incredible body, okay, and is just gorgeous. Can we just, and so somebody pulled this up, and she probably gave it to her. Maybe she did it herself. He's doing squats, and his ass is incredible.
Yeah.
At the time of this reel that Justin Baldoni posted himself doing squats, Blake commented 103 weeks ago, okay, so 2 years ago, when they're filming the movie, amazing, now try it pregnant, meaning that she, at one time was pregnant, having to do that. So the jealousy that I believe we all know that Ryan is having over Justin and whatever he interpreted this friendship, relationship, flirting shit to be, is why he then inserted himself, and I think got in her head to make her to be like, I'm going to help you make this funny. I'm going to help you make it great. When it shouldn't even have been funny. Like here he is with the Hugh Jackman, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this just happened recently. He just went to Hugh Jackman's one-man show, trying to or just he would have gone anyway, but he's not canceling, which I can't disagree with.
Yeah. But I mean, just all of the promotion that he was doing. I mean, because everyone talks about her tone deaf promotion, right?
Right.
Her hair care, her wearing Britney's dress,
his liquor,
his liquor, her canned cocktails that she was promoting as well. But when you think about it, the film was not a comedy. So for him to be doing comedic skits was just weird. And it's I don't know why we didn't touch on the tone deafness of his promotion by sitting down the other actor and interrogating the love interest of his wife. It was all so strange. Did you see what TJ Miller came out and talked about?
No, tell me that.
So TJ Miller worked on Deadpool 1 and 2 with Ryan Reynolds.
the comedian, I know him.
Yep,
yeah.
and so he had a character in Deadpool, and he said that what Ryan Reynolds would do is he would improv a lot of his lines, and so he said that he will never work with Ryan Reynolds again, because I guess there was a moment where they were filming a scene, and Ryan wanted to reshoot it and ad-lib, and he basically was making comments at TJ's character, but TJ's it felt like he was making jabs at me directly. Like he wanted to berate me in front of everybody else because the lines didn't make any sense for the movie about kind of how I'm the star as Deadpool is the star and you know, we just bring you in for the exposition.
Right.
And I think TJ Miller being a comedian, and maybe you can relate to this, like when you're on set and you're naturally, or you have more of a skill set for delivering jokes and being funny, organically versus somebody like Ryan Reynolds who kind of, you know, thinks he's funnier than he actually is. When a comedian comes on set and they deliver jokes naturally that are landing a lot better than you are, it does hit your ego because you think you're the star and you're supposed to be the funny one.
Right.
So I can understand why he would kind of, you know, want to embarrass or put TJ down to remind him like I'm the star of the movie and you're just like, you know, the sidekick.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this, but with timeline, we've all now seen the infamous scene from Deadpool where Ryan Reynolds is playing another character called Nice Pool.
Yeah.
He has a half man bun, like a half up, you know, half bun, half down character that is obviously making fun of Justin. Now we see it. He has a podcast about feminism. He talks about his wife, Nice Pool, and saying inappropriate things like, oh, you wouldn't even know that she had a baby. And then there was even more stuff that I guess was cut out that was directly like bullying to him. So do you know when was that like filmed in relation to them filming It Ends With Us?
Yeah, so I believe production for Deadpool and Wolverine began before It Ends With Us, but production went until the end of January 2024, which was like a couple weeks before It Ends With Us wrapped. So production was happening at the same time that they were filming both movies.
So it most likely it was like he was hot on the like frustration and was like, oh, let's make fun of this fucker.
And he also, so there were a number of things in Nice Pool. So there was the feminist comment, the man bun, the podcast. He, at one point, Nice Pool screams out for the intimacy coordinator.
Right.
We see that Nice Pool gets, you know, taken out by Lady Pool in front of a flower shop, and obviously It Ends With Us surrounds a flower shop. There's something with the dog, and people think that the dog was supposed to symbolize like the movie that Ryan Reynolds was taking from Justin Baldoni. And then there's another strange piece that people weren't picking up on that I thought was really weird. There's a clip, and it's in where he talks about having a podcast and being a feminist, and they keep showing a wide shot, and they show that Nice Pool kind of has like his bulge very visible, like he's trying to like flex on it, right? Like he's trying to show it off.
Okay.
And then Wolverine at one point looks down and he's like, look up here, my eyes are up here. And so I was like, is there something like, is he saying that Justin Baldoni was trying to like flex his big dick on the set because he's just walking around with it out and now Ryan Reynolds is like insecure? Because why would you, if you're poking fun at Baldoni and this character is supposed to emulate Baldoni, like why do you have his bulge on display and like do a close up of it and have Wolverine acknowledge it if you weren't trying to like make a statement about it?
Do you have knowledge of how old Justin Baldoni is? Ryan Reynolds is 48.
Yeah.
And Blake is 37, which the character was 21 in the book.
Yeah, it was weird. I noticed that.
In watching it, I was like, how does this girl, we never hear about how she was able to get like New York, they're in New York, right? Or are they in Boston?
New York.
Okay. During the movie. She gets this huge retail space.
Yeah.
And we never hear how she got the money for it.
No.
My sister goes, well, maybe she inherited it when the dad died. I don't know, but that never got discussed. But, you know, she's dressing absolutely horribly. And now we know that she has a lot of notes about, I think she'd have a beanie. And somebody said that she didn't read the book. Maybe she thought she was homeless.
She didn't read the book. Well, no, but she fought for her character to wear $5,000 Louboutin shoes. So
those boots, those crystal boots that she wears at the party of his sisters having a party, who now works with her, the girl who is played by Jenny Slate, and she's wearing these crystal boots that are Yves Saint Laurent. I remember I looked into them because when I did Name That Tune, Jane, the host of the show, had them on, and I was like, oh my God, I want those boots. And then when her assistant told me what they were and I looked them up, I'm like, no, but I did find a dupe. I found a dupe for like $152. But the point is those are expensive. She also had that Valentino purse throughout the whole thing. She had label-y things. The outfits are absolutely horrible.
They're bad.
Valentine's Day is coming up, and whether you're married, single, focusing on friends, in a weird situationship or a great one, everyone deserves to celebrate love. While MeUndies can't get that F-boy to commit, we used to call them players, but whatever. We all have lived through it. They can offer you insanely comfy yet sexy undies and loungewear to buy or gift this holiday season. They've got so many awesome Valentine's Day prints and styles. Plus, you can match with your partner, friends, or even your pets. What I love is they have classic black looks, but they also have expressive prints. Also, they've got it for everybody. So you could go extra small to 4XL. MeUndies are so comfortable. It's their signature fabric. It's soft as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. It's breathable. It's stretchy. It is oh so comfy. And is there any piece of clothing that you want more comfortable than your underwear? Right? Well, these MeUndies truly deliver. I absolutely love them. This Valentine's Day, give the gift that'll always have them thinking of you and get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/JuicyScoop. Enter promo code JuicyScoop. That's MeUndies.com/JuicyScoop. Code JuicyScoop for 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in. Kravet Jewelers, a fourth-generation family business based in New York, is stepping up to support Los Angeles in a time of need. Witnessing the devastating impact of the fires, Kravet is doing what they do best, creating meaningful jewelry with a purpose. Their latest collection symbolizes the strength and perseverance of LA while addressing an often overlooked cause, the safety and protection of animals affected by the fires. The jewelry brand has partnered with LA-based Animal Wellness Foundation, a leading nonprofit in animal rescue and protection. Together, they're directing 100% of the proceeds to the foundation's Palisades Relief Fund, providing a sanctuary and care for pets and wildlife displaced by the disaster. The collection features 2 tiers of the iconic LA and Heart pendant, each representing a token of love and resilience. Sterling silver pendant, a beautiful and accessible way to show your support. Solid 14-karat gold pendant, a luxurious option for those looking to make an even bigger impact. By purchasing a LA Hearts pendant, you're not only wearing a piece of LA spirit, but also helping to provide shelter, medical care, and safety for animals in need. Join Kravet Jewelers in making a difference. Together, we can help protect LA's beloved pets and wildlife. Visit KravetJewelers.com to learn more or purchase your pendant today. But let's talk about these outfits. A lot of people have done this. This was coming from a creator on TikTok. What is her name? HV181 Mike. Well, sorry, girl. Like this, you just come up with like Jenny Jones.
Yeah, come on with an easier name.
Anyway, so okay. So she put all the outfits together. You can find the outfits. I don't really remembering how horrible the outfits were when I was watching it, just because I thought the movie was weird and lame. And so it's this double pant thing. And I'm like, what are these outfits? There's the overalls, these tan overalls that someone said were actually Ryan's. She's wearing 2 different kinds of camouflage out. She's wearing this quilted jacket that's like a patchwork, like a grandma would wear. Just the most unflattering. The beanie. She always had this wild hair. And then the rooftop scene, she's wearing this jean onesie jumpsuit. Like you work
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers and you work at Jiffy Lube. Okay, so what's interesting about the rooftop scene is this is the scene that Taylor Swift and Ryan, her 2 dragons, helped her write, in which she writes back to Justin, my favorite part about a conversation is that you don't think you're funny.
Yeah.
You are going to kill it. Meaning that he probably was like, I don't know about this being, I remember watching that scene a couple months ago before the lawsuits, and I was like, what is this? So she walks out on the rooftop, sees this hot guy who's upset because he reveals I'm a neurosurgeon, whatever, and I lost a child or whatever on the table. But when he says he's a neurosurgeon, she's like, and he's like, what? She's like, oh my God, you are. And he's like, have we met before? She's like, being that I haven't needed brain surgery, I don't think so. But you're really a neurosurgeon? I thought you were a crypto guy. Like, it's literally Ryan Reynolds writing his Deadpool stuff for her. Makes no sense. And she's laughing. And she's in this outfit that's not flattering and not cute. Now, here's where my theory comes in.
Okay.
And I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of not. Okay? because I'm obsessed with how bad the fashion is, and I'm obsessed with people with fashion, and I remember fashion. I'm also a female stand-up comedian. This look, every female comic that is touring and big and had specials wore this look while they were filming this movie. Hence, the evidence is coming. Okay, make sure we feature this. Here is Whitney Cummings 2 years ago. Here is Chelsea Handler in her special wearing a white version of it.
Yeah.
Here is Christella wearing the jean version of it. Okay. Here is Angela Johnson also wearing the jean version of it. Here is Becky Robinson wearing the same white version that Chelsea wore. And here is Mike Myers. So I am telling you, it was like, this is the funny girl. I mean, I literally said this like when it was happening. I was like, why is this the stand-up female's uniform? Like, why is every girl wearing it? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you only have to pack one piece and you're traveling, and it looks kind of cool. Sometimes it gives you a waist. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends which one you get. I get why people chose it as a woman, because I hate every outfit that I have ever chosen. Every time I think I like an outfit, I watch back the video and I go, fuck, that didn't look as good as I thought. So I get why it's so hard. But I'm telling you, in trying to be funny, I think she saw some of them wearing this and chose that particular thing. It's a stretch, but it's my...
Well, you have to think, where did she get her headset, like her headspace to put together some of these outfits? Because they're so bad.
They're horrible.
And everyone's like, it's obvious she didn't read the book by looking at these outfits, because they're so wacky and just so ugly. And like, I don't know. I don't see a girl that puts together flowers wearing these wacky outfits. It was all very bizarre to me.
So a lot of people are saying...
And her hair looks horrible. That's a terrible promotion for her hair care line. Even when she was doing the It Ends With Us promo, like, her hair never looked good.
No, it always looked frizzy. I don't know if that was her own hair and they dyed it red. People think it's a wig. I think it was her own hair dyed red. I think it's
her own hair dyed red.
And like, let's make her like, I feel like she wanted so much, because she talks in circles and she doesn't say anything. And she wants so badly to be like so excited about this role that she was like, I want it to be completely different from me. So she's an artist. So let's give her these weird, like, Blossom 1990s weird clothes. Let's give her this different, let's give her red hair, which I'm like, okay, a 35 or whatever he is, 40-year-old neurosurgeon. But forget about the book. Wouldn't have been interested in someone that is looking and walking. Like, it's so strange. So in all of her interviews, she tries to be funny. Sometimes she insults an interview in doing it. But she tries to be funny, and it just never lands.
No.
And it's always like the interviewer is trying to get to the question, and she's always like, oh, but like, just, it's painful to watch now. And a lot of it is post being with Ryan. And you do kind of become your spouse, and you do pat. So again, I think she thinks she's funny, just like he thinks he's funnier than he is.
Well, because that's their shtick too, is they like to play up that we're this funny couple, and we take jabs at each other on Twitter, and like we, troll each other in interviews in like a cheeky, funny way. And people are like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with their relationship, because they're just like so,
relationship goals.
Yeah, that was like a thing for a couple of years. I mean, I think it's a mix of being with Ryan, but also coming off of Gossip Girl and thinking that like she's the star.
Right. Oh, speaking of which, so there was a nut. So I always love it when someone comes out from someone's past and is like, I worked in craft services. And
the intern, the TikTok intern.
This girl goes on TikTok and she goes, I was dating the craft service guy, and I was a stand-in on Gossip Girl, and Blake Lively used to burp and fart on set.
I didn't hear this one. I heard a different TikTok intern.
She goes, I used to burp and fart on set, and then she knew I was dating the craft service guys and would hug on him and be like, oh, the food's so good. I'm like, first of all, I've heard so many things that she doesn't talk to anybody. That she doesn't look people in the eye. And now you're saying she was actually complimentary and friendly. And it's because she knew that the craft service guy was dating a stand-in that wasn't even her stand-in. I'm like, that's where I'm like, look, we can all pile on Blake, but like sometimes I don't, imagine you're the star of the show. You have to memorize all your lines. You're doing all this stuff. And you have to also worry that 10 years from now, someone is going to say you accidentally didn't hold the door for them or something, like, just enough. So that I kind of thought was But the farting and burping were good. But she also said, which we've seen this happen in Hollywood a lot. She left for like her summer break while she was dating Leonardo DiCaprio, and she came back like annoyed that she was still on contract for this stupid TV show that made her famous.
Yeah.
And that I can say I have witnessed
Yeah.
and I have heard a lot about. That, by the 6th or 7th year of something, who also got a lot of shit for that was the girl that was fresh off the boat. The star of
and
Fresh
she
Off
went
the
to
Boat.
do Crazy Rich Asians,
And
right?
and then when she came back, she posted something like, I don't know, it was like a tweet or something, disappointed that the show was coming back or something. And she literally was canceled and was like on suicide watch because she expressed her feelings at the time, which she shouldn't have, which wasn't, I'm not grateful to the show and I want 80 people to lose their job. It was just like, oh shit, like I didn't think it was coming back.
Yeah.
I thought I had these other opportunities that I could do, and I'm actually not able to do them, which you share with your spouse or your best friend.
Yeah.
You don't
post
you
about
don't
it on
post
social media.
about it, like you were like, fuck, like I know, like, and you're like, it's an embarrassment of riches, but,
Yeah.
first world problems, but you can say that, but you don't say it. So I feel like that's true. Oh, the Bethany Frankel of it all. So Bethany Frankel is like, oh my God, you guys, I just remembered that I went to the premiere.
Yeah. Everybody remembers their stories from 10 years ago.
Yes,
And Bethany
including the
now- yeah.
stand-in and Bethany
Yeah.
Frankel. Okay, so Bethany goes on to say that she went to the premiere and it was so weird because between the red carpet and the movie, there was an hour break. That is completely normal.
Yeah, that's normal.
That is completely
It's
normal.
the
And then she
cocktail
goes,
hour.
so then we went and got these margaritas and then came back because I wanted to see the movie because it's frowned upon if you don't stay for the movie. Well, listen, I have been going to premieres for a long time. I've gone to a lot of kid ones. I used to get invited to a ton. I'd see Garcelle and her sons. We're like, hey, we'd always take our boys to all the kid ones. And I went to other good ones too. I always stayed for the movie because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And also I felt that you had to.
Yeah.
Once I realized that 90% of the people doing the red carpet, even the people in the movie, don't stay.
No.
It's not a no-no. It is
No.
totally okay. There's nobody checking. There's nobody looking in the dark being like, this person wasn't there. So you can leave and still go to the after party. I usually stayed because I was like, well, then we're going to go to the after party. But there's been times where I'm like, oh, fuck, we're an hour from home. It's a school night. But I still stayed for the movie. So anyway, she says, so I go back from getting my margaritas and I could just tell the vibe in the theater was off between Justin's camp and Blake Lively's camp. And for that reason, my assistant and I left.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a stretch, girl.
It was a bit of a stretch because she's just like to her, I was like, ever since I walked in, like the vibes were just off. I was on the red carpet and I can just sense that like it was just not good energy. And then she's like, once the movie started, I couldn't stay there anymore. So we left.
Like you could feel the vibes in a dark movie theater.
And she's like, I didn't say this because I didn't want to get canceled for leaving early. I'm like, people leave early all the time. Like you go, you do your photo op, you make sure you have a little content to post on Instagram to show that you were there. And then at this point, you don't need to stay for the whole thing anymore.
Because listen, if you don't have anything to do with the movie or if it's not like you're a really good friend in it, it's a long fucking night.
Yeah.
You start getting ready at 3:00. You get there at 6. And if you're not at the movie, you have to be at the beginning of the red carpet.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
You
they
get-
won't
yeah.
even take your
They-
photo. So you're like the first to arrive. So yeah, there is well over an hour between a non-person in the movie taking a
Yeah.
photo and the thing. Then the only food that's provided is the free popcorn. So
Yeah.
you do get a little hungry. So you get it. So a lot of people go and then maybe they go to the after party, but maybe they're like, I don't need a free slider either. Like,
Yeah, 'cause that's all it is. It's
And
just like-
they're happy to have you on the carpet. The
Yeah.
reason they invited is you're going to help promote the movie. It's fine if you're not in your seat.
They don't care. Yeah, they don't care. Nobody's paying attention to what's going on in the room or even the movie. As long as
Yeah.
you're there to get your photo op and you can promote the movie, that's all they
The
care
amount of times that I've stayed for the movie and then seen somebody that's like worked on it or something, and they're like, Heather, what are you doing here?
about. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm just the loser that got the invite, got an outfit, and ate an entire thing of popcorn because I'm starving, and now I'm waiting for the free slider. And thanks for making me feel like a full fucking thirsty loser.
But it's true. I mean, the movie part is like the least important part of it all.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a critic that has to write about it, but then you're not
Right.
walking the red carpet.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we go through the horrible outfits and my theory of her wanting to be a female stand-up comic from 2022. And now I was of this, and now everything's coming out. So remember, she was in The Town.
Yeah.
Which this was interesting because the role that she went out for, where she was like this fucked up girl that had a drug problem, who's had a child, but dated Ben Affleck, but I don't believe the child was his. But she, and he was like, get away from me. She was 21, but the role was written for someone who was 37.
Yeah.
And I was like,
well, similar to like this, isn't Lily supposed to be 21 and she's 37?
yeah, I just thought it was, and then he said in an interview, Ben Affleck, now at this time he's married to Jennifer Garner, okay? And there's rumors about them having something happen. And which wouldn't be surprising. We know he slept with a nanny. Okay, let's just like he slept with a girl who was like the head executive at SNL for 3 years, where they met at the W Hotel all the time. And so whatever, So he's doing an interview and he's like, well, I'm 40 but Blake, who's great, is in the movie and she's only 21. And somehow she saw a photo of myself and Matt Damon. And she's like, how do you know the Jason Bourne or whatever?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my God. And then I realized how young she is. She doesn't know like the history of us friendship and writing, Goodwill Hunting and everything. So he's like, but, she wanted to learn about Boston. She wasn't from there. So we would take late night drives around Boston so he could go, this is where the townies live and this is where the Dunkin' Donuts is and whatever.
Just showing her around.
Which I'm
Just
sure Jennifer
friendly,
Garner and the three kids were like, oh, I'm so glad you're teaching her how to be Bostonian.
Yeah, she's 21, so she needs a little culture.
Yeah. So, But in the earlier interviews, she definitely comes off more humble and more likable. I will say that. She does come from acting family. Her parents taught acting classes. She's the youngest of 5. But there's some that she's not so humble, where she's like, a really cringy one. Did you see the really cringy one where she talked about putting on a bunch of bronzer?
Oh, yeah. With Justin Long?
Is asking her, and she goes, my friend, it's nose job. And she's like, oh, my friends and I, we really liked this guy, so we were stalking him, and so he wouldn't notice us. She dressed like emo, and I wore all this bronzer and put on like
a big afro.
Yeah.
So that she could look like a black girl. And she said that she was trying to intentionally emulate a black woman. It was, people have been sharing that clip a lot.
Well, of course, at the plantation wedding, too.
The plantation wedding.
They got married at a plantation.
I never acknowledged it. Like, I mean,
with that, if you didn't read the book, I don't think you asked, and I'm not giving her any grace for this, but I think you asked, your wedding planner for your $1 million wedding, what is the history of this land?
Yeah.
It's like my son goes to University of Oregon, and when we went on the tours of University of Oregon and Oregon State, every tour, whether it was a smaller for engineering department, whatever, the kids would come out and they'd be like, first, we want to acknowledge that this land belongs to the whatever Indians. We stole it from them. Like, just kind of bums you out, and you're like, so if they have any questions about the Indians that who really this land belongs to, and we're like, oh, okay, go Ducks. Like, it just feels like a little, and so I'm saying 8 years ago, I don't know that we were in that space to say, if we are in Georgia, I need to ask the history of this land.
I mean, I even think like the resurfaced video of her and Justin Long, like even that, I'm kind of like, I haven't paid much attention to that or the plantation wedding. So I'm like, that was different time. She was young. She was stupid. I'm not saying that I'm not excusing it by any means, but it's just, I think there's enough bad behavior that we can judge her for today that we don't need to keep dragging things from 15 years ago.
And
up.
also, if you did then do a big apology that you got married there, then you're also drawing attention to it. And then there can be 12 more articles written about it where you might just go, yikes. Whatever. We're married with kids. Like, I'm not going to, whatever, say that. I mean, it's like.
Well, I feel like her press didn't start to get bad until Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. That's when
That was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, but that's when they started saying that there were rumors between her and America Ferrera that they didn't like each other, and then some of their interview bits together. There's like one where America Ferrera like rolls her eyes at what Blake's talking about. So I feel like that was like the era. That was like her first real big movie. I think she thought she was the star of the movie because she was on Gossip Girl. And then that's when we had the TikTok intern who's like, I remember I used to work at Fuse TV and they came in to do an interview and Blake Lively got me fired because I guess Blake felt like she was acting too much like a fan, so she had them remove her from the set. And the girl's like 19 and went like crying. She's like, I went home crying on the train because I lost my job because Blake Lively thought that I was acting like too much of a fan around her, and so she had me fired.
Yeah, well, I stood up for her, like I said, a month or two ago, and I cut it out of the show, but I because I felt it was too not that juicy, but it was because I saw this interview of a hairdresser. This guy, he wrote a book about his life. He's a famous hairdresser, and like he was Kate Blanchett's like an Oscar-winning type of person that really does hair for movies. And in all of his interviews, the ones that were going viral before the lawsuit, but post the movie coming out, this is all within like the last 3 months, was that Kate Blanchett's like his best friend, and she's so wonderful, and Blake Lively is not.
Yeah.
And neither is, who's the Devil Wears Prada girl?
Anne Hathaway?
Yes, and neither is Anne Hathaway. And so he was giving very detailed stories about Blake. And I was like, I don't think these stories are fair. Like, it was like she didn't ask about my daughter, and then she had this Easter event and invited all the crew to come, but she was running around trying to finish these pastries, and there was food out, but she wasn't offering it. I'm like, that's a young girl that just wasn't equipped to be a hostess, but at least she invited you. Like, I was kind of like, and I was like, also, some people, so one of the reasons I do my own hair and makeup a lot, even though I get great people that offer, is because I end up talking so much to the people, and I need to be more in my head.
Yeah.
So sometimes people getting that done are just quiet.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they don't respect what you were doing. So it's kind of like that at that time I was Team Blake.
Yeah.
And I was also like, why is this going viral? But it was already, people were interested because there was already so much out there that was not flattering to her being like a nice person.
Yeah, that's why even when the New York Times article came out and she was alleging a smear campaign, like I understood the groundwork that they were trying to put out there, but I was also like, but I remember watching that unfold and covering it as the premiere was happening and as they were doing promotion, being like, it's more of her own bad behavior that people, well, no, what it was the interviewer that told her about the little bump.
Right.
She's the one that came out and did a YouTube video, and she's like, this is the worst interview I've ever done because Blake Lively was so rude to me. And that's what went viral. And then that's when everybody else started going on TikTok and pulling all of her old interviews. And then that's the moment that really took off. So she's the one that did the smear campaign.
But also when I was not Team Blake, but feeling for Blake.
Yeah.
I'll say feeling for Blake.
Okay.
I wondered, was that why that interview and why that girl chose to share it at that time? I was a little suspect. Not like she got paid, but like, was there somebody, was somebody doing research and found it and was like, hey, we just saw this. You know what? This is the kind of stuff you should share. Like if he had a team that he was not instructing, you know, but they like went and saw this and they were looking for stuff to show that she's a bitch. Could they have gone to the interview and been like, you should put this out?
I don't think it was out. I think that was a piece of the interview that never got released. And she's like, I was uncomfortable with this. And now that we're starting to see her, her interviews about like, go get your friends and wear your florals. And she's like she's coming off tone deaf. She's like, here's the interview. This is the clip that I didn't want to release because I was so like hurt by it because I guess she's had fertility issues. So for Blake to like poke her little bump and being pregnant, she's like, it was just really sensitive for me at that time.
The defense of that is at that time, and I remember this, there was a big movement among actresses to call out reporters and stuff about why do you say what you're wearing versus tell me about your role like on an Oscar. They never ask the guys what they're wearing. So, and you should call them out on it when it comes to stuff like that or pregnancy or men, like people don't go over asking men about their kids or whatever. So it was, some people feel like that's what she was doing, not to be mean to the interviewer, but to get people in the mode of like, don't ask that.
Yeah.
So, but still, done wrong and done not nicely.
And
so
at that time, too, with tabloid culture, anytime an actress had a little bit of a belly, whether it was Chipotle or not, it was automatically the headline of she's pregnant, Jennifer Aniston expecting baby. Like, that was just kind of like the thing. And I remember that there was pushback against that. But I mean, the only pushback that I have to that argument is she was very obviously pregnant, and she was, I think, like well along, and like it was she had already come out and like revealed her pregnancy. So
okay, so now here I'm gonna go hardcore. Okay, but there's another part of the movie that said, I saw a clip that I remembered being so weird, is Justin Baldoni with his perfect face and teeth goes to her, "I like you," and she goes, "What are you, 5?" Like all these weird things to be funny. It just made no. Like, it just made no sense, you know?
Yeah.
But I felt like when they did kiss and stuff, I did feel like they had chemistry.
They 100% had chemistry.
So the next thing is, you know, which we've been saying, did Ryan think that she caught feelings? And in order for her to placate him, she involved him. And more and more and more, where he was on set, and she just was like, oh my God, don't poke the bear. Like, now is this woman that's in a marriage. Every marriage is different. Every dynamic is different. And, you know, listen, when people say, how do you stay married so long as a woman? It's putting up with a lot of shit. It's not letting things bother you. It's like, I don't know, maybe she was like, okay. Or she's just like, my husband, oh my God, he's so great. He's so wonderful. She's always promoting the gin and all this stuff. So now, Candace Owen comes out saying a very good source now tells me that Ryan Reynolds is, you know, like this overbearing type of husband to her, and not that she's innocent, and not that she's being abused, but could she be legally abused? Yeah. Like, did he decide to put out this lawsuit and she didn't really think it through, and it was going out, and now they're trying to do a gag order saying you can't put out the website with all the extra footage of Wayfair and everything.
Don't release the evidence.
Yeah.
We're innocent, but don't release the evidence.
Right. So
even though we started this in the New York Times.
So now they're like, holy shit. And I can't imagine the fights that are happening between Ryan and Blake, because Blake might have been like, fuck, I never even wanted this, you weirdo. Like, now you've ruined my life. Now everyone thinks I'm a bitch. I'll never work again. So here's my theory.
Yeah.
Just like it came out last week that allegedly Meghan Markle's people were shopping a book of how much would a book go for post-divorce.
This is a good theory.
Post-divorce. And people were like, well, no, they would never get divorced. No, it's not him. He's this dumb prince that wanted to do a podcast where he thought he could interview Putin and Donald Trump and say, you're a sociopath and I'm not. Why is that? And think that they would do the podcast with him. Like, he has no ideas. He's not a creative person. It's the shine is worn off. And I'm not saying she's going to get divorced, but she was probably like, I'm thinking about it. If I can get $10 million and I know I've got a safety net, I'll tell you why we broke up. If I choose to do that. She's already been divorced. Her parents were divorced. I'm just saying, it's not like she was raised in this house that divorce is not an option. Okay. So that's her.
No, she was raised in the capitalistic house where her dad was selling paparazzi photos before the wedding.
Right. And then, and she had the other sister, the pushy princess who wrote the book. So I'm like, we know she's manipulative. She acted like she didn't know who Prince Harry was. And she was like, is he kind? And, meanwhile, her roommate called, said she had every book on Princess Diana and was obsessed. Yeah. So kind of like, we know that, Blake was, supposedly just friends on Green Lantern while he was married to Scarlett Johansson. Now we know that Scarlett Johansson is doing a directorial debut in which Justin Baldoni is her EP, and all this kind of stuff of like, can you imagine the two of them talking? Like when you're like former boyfriend or former best friend, if some shit goes down, the excitement that you get to call that other person and be like, whoa, let's fucking talk. Like, so glad this is happening. So what I think is the source that's putting this narrative after, which, by the way, it wasn't Candace's narrative. We've all said it's a kind of a controlling husband that probably pushed for this and didn't really see how big it would get.
Right.
And like you said, thinking it would just be like a Weinstein kind of thing, and that will crush him,
Yeah.
and we'll get him done. He'll never work again, and we're so powerful with my big $500 million billion thing of Deadpool. And I think that someone in her camp is like, put it out there that I am essentially the innocent in this.
Yeah.
I am the woman that has 4 kids, which is a lot nowadays. 4 kids close in age with this guy, this powerful movie star who is 11 years older than I am. And he pushed for this. And essentially, Candace says it's legal abuse. And because she's thinking in her head, if this doesn't last and I divorce Ryan, this can be the narrative. I never wanted to do this lawsuit. I never wanted this. He was in a jealous rage.
Yeah. I actually agree with that. I think, to your point, I think she was placating him. And I think she was probably just like, I'm sure he saw the text message. She's writing paragraphs and paragraphs about how amazing Justin Baldoni is, and they killed it at the scene today and whatever.
And they're laughing all night. And he comes over and he's sitting with her baby. Like, if you are really afraid of somebody, you don't need.
No.
You might need to work.
Yeah.
You might need to finish the movie.
You're not taking photos of him
But you
holding your
don't
baby.
need them to come in your home.
Yeah. And sending them paragraphs and paragraphs.
And do you imagine if he was jealous?
Yeah.
And saw the guy that she's making out with and texting till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Holding his baby?
I'm
like,
sure he
like
goes through her phone.
to be?
I'm sure he has access to her
He
airdrop.
was on, he was on the kid's iPad, which has the iCloud shareables.
Yep.
And that's where she doesn't even know that he's been reading her text for the last 10 years
And
on the oldest child's iPad.
And I'm pretty sure she was just like, he's the one that's into me. Like, I don't even like him. Like, these are all the things that he said. I'm sure she sold him the story that Baldoni was pursuing her and she wasn't interested in him, just to kind of get him off the trail and like, shut up. It's not like he's the one that's coming on to me. I don't even like him. And then I think that's where Ryan Reynolds then was like, oh, well, then he built this whole case against Justin Baldoni, because I think Blake, not thinking that this would turn as big as it was, but just to kind of like ease him into being like, I'm not interested in him. I think she was probably like maybe exaggerating some of the details that we're now reading in this complaint, because she told Ryan and now he's like, we're dragging this out.
So I have said my prediction, which is this will settle.
Yeah. There's no way this goes to trial.
I don't know what they're going to give him, but they have a lot of money. So we'll never know. But I could see them in the next week being like, all right, here's 10 million. It goes up to 50. They settle at like 45 million. And I want an apology or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? We want to just do art. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
And then they go away for a little bit. And people forget, just like people forget that Hilaria acted like she was Spanish.
Yeah.
And acted like she lived in Spain her whole life. Like, people forget. They have a series.
Yeah.
And now she's got a book. Like, I'm a mom with a bunch of kids. Like,
that's what she should have done after It Ends With Us, right? She got the bad publicity.
Right,
do the Anne Hathaway thing. Go dead
away.
for a year or two.
Not even
like,
2 years, 1 year.
Nobody, like,
Armie Hammer already has another
exactly.
job.
Oh,
like,
my God.
The cancel time is so short, you guys.
I want Armie Hammer on my podcast.
Yeah.
He can eat a rib. I'll give him a little nibble. But like, it's true. Like, and we were done with this by the time the lawsuit came. That's why when I first got when somebody sent me the New York Times article, I was like, this is so uninteresting to me. And then when I read through it, I was like, oh, this is juicy.
Yeah. So they said, we won't be bullied. The wife, they, said happy birthday. It was his birthday.
Yeah.
They're like, big statement.
And the mom did too.
And the mom just said happy birthday and like, you're great. And
yeah, but she used the photos from the set of Jane the Virgin and talked about what a great, environment that was, because all the cast got along and they were all, so she kind of threw a little dig in there too.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, it's your son,
Yeah.
like, going through this. And he probably had the worst, week and a half of his life until he got it together. And now he's like, yeah, I'm vindicated. It's like, there is something great.
Like, I don't think what smoking gun could she possibly have that would even exonerate her at this point?
Okay, so now let's talk about Nick Viall.
Oh, God.
Nick Viall has a podcast, and I am very friendly with him. I like him. He's been on mine. I've been on his. And I've been watching the clips, and he, from the beginning, was very Blake pro Blake.
Yeah.
And dissed Justin. He said he was on my podcast and I didn't care for him or something like that.
Because he meditated in front of me and I thought that was weird.
Okay. And so then he also said, Ryan, he's like, then the other thing he said was Justin Baldoni, he was, it was his production company, Wayfarer, who did it. So if the movie was successful, which it was, he already made a lot of money on it. So, I don't know what the point of that was, but just to say that he made a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's such an interesting point no one's brought up. So then people are like, well, Ryan Reynolds is a spokesperson or owns Mint Mobile.
Yeah.
And Mint Mobile does a lot of podcast ads.
Yeah.
I think I've had it too at one point. And so people notice Nick Viall does.
Yeah.
But I also think they might actually be friendly to an extent.
They've hung out. I know they follow each other on social media. The Mint Mobile thing, I think people think that that's like a bigger smoking gun than it actually is. But I mean, you know how podcast deals work. We're not personally on the phone with Mint Mobile saying, hey, this is how much I want. Like, there's usually a broker, an ad agency, somebody else that's negotiating those deals and like, these are the sponsor or I approve any brand that comes in. But like we're not personally talking. So he's not on the phone with Ryan Reynolds, who's signing the check to Nick Viall personally. Like that is like a totally different, separate situation.
But I think in doing it, you can have an opinion. You can see all the different sides. And I think at the time he, is siding, with Ryan and Blake. And yes, they were at a party and they took a photo. This also doesn't mean anything. This is from Shannon Hill News.
Yeah.
But are they friendly? Sure. You and I are friends with people that we talk about. And sometimes when we personally know them and they're in the news, we do it a little bit with kit gloves. Other times we're like, we don't care.
Yeah.
And other times we don't do the story at all.
I think
there's times where I'm like, I am not touching the story because I really...
The horse trainer.
Yes.
And that got me. Well, I think because of the last time I was on this show, Teddy stopped texting me because we talked about it. And I was like, you know what? I tried to protect you for so long, and you can't win. But yeah, she stopped answering my texts.
Oh, Teddy and the horse trainer.
Yeah, because we talked about the horse trainer last time.
Yeah, well, but yeah, of course, then you want that story to go away. But if I was really good friends with somebody and they're like, hey, can you not cover this because I can't even take it?
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't. But I can understand why other people are like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do. My people are asking, and I'm going to give my opinion. I get both sides. So, but you hope that if someone's your personal friend and there's controversy, that they would do it a little in kit gloves or at least hear your side. So it's possible, depending on their friendship, that he did hear the Ryan side of it, and that did or somebody gave him the information of here's a couple things that no one's bringing up.
Yeah.
The fact that obviously it was a profitable film. The whole other thing is this all about, and maybe you know this because I don't know the answer, there is a sequel?
So Justin Baldoni has the rights to the sequel. And so Colleen Hoover, who wrote the books, she gave him the rights to the first two movies. They've had a 5-year relationship. And I guess over the years since the film began filming, I guess she's gotten closer to Blake Lively. And so I've heard different theories about maybe there's some sort of morality clause and he has to forfeit the rights if he, is in breach of that.
Oh,
and
so that would be the goal too.
Yeah, and that would be possibly why Colleen aligned herself with Ryan and Blake because maybe they wanted to, take the second film. And so, but to the point of the first film making a lot of money, I think it made around $300 million for the first film. But there is the money that he's losing off of the sequel because now there's going to be no sequel. There's not going to be the second one's called It Starts With Us, and it's about them co-parenting together. So there's no way.
I think there will be.
And how do you get the two of them back together to film another movie? Well, I guess they did it with Anna Kendrick in A Simple Favor too.
No, someone plays her.
Yeah.
Someone else plays that character. A totally different person.
Yeah.
And
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. Someone plays her because I didn't know there was a sequel, and I was like, I've never seen an abusive relationship where you're basically like, you like your baby? Well, guess what? We're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And you're controlling neurosurgeon. And now I'm telling you, even though you've been a delight during this pregnancy, we are done because a year ago you did these 3 things.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. Already I was like, I know this is like a fictional thing or maybe it's not, but I was like, this doesn't make sense. How are they going to co-parent?
Yeah.
So I am curious to know what that movie will look like. And is it like, oh, well, as long as I'm not with you, I'm this super great guy. And then also the Jenny Slate character, the sister, was like, you're my friend. He's my brother. But if you stick with him, I will
We'll
stop.
never speak to you again.
I'm like, that doesn't make sense either.
No.
Like, you stick by your brother. You
Yeah.
don't need your stupid flower job. You are going to be like,
Yeah.
can please go to counseling. Any sister-in-law would be like, he's calling me. He's crying. Even if it's not right, you'd be
Yeah.
like, is there any way?
Yeah.
Is there any way? You wouldn't immediately just go, yeah, you should definitely like never talk to him again. And he can have the kid every other Wednesday.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like, it was so weird. So I think it could be good. I think there's so much interest in it. Also, everyone wants to see his cut, which I'm so curious about.
They have to release that at
But
some
still,
point.
if she's doing those weird jokey lines, I don't know that his cut would be that different.
Yeah, but you would think that she would prioritize her goofy lines over whatever the script called for,
Right.
because
So
they
they
were
probably
saying
did
that she
2
would
versions.
riff. Yeah, she would. They were saying that she would riff and change and tweak her dialogue daily. That, like, I'm sure they have a bunch of different takes that didn't incorporate any of
and
her
the other
goofy,
thing
cheesy
is,
stuff.
when he's like, oh, I'd like to meet your mom.
Yeah.
You want to meet my mom? Well, like, why wouldn't he? Like, that's so, like, it was so weird. And then they get married and they tell the mom, like, it's after they even framed photos of like their wedding day and they're making food. They can't even stop to talk to the mom to say we got married. And the mom's on, FaceTime and she lives an hour away. And she's like, I just wish you would have invited me. Oh, God, Mom. Don't you hate it when your mother's pissed you didn't invite her to your wedding? I'm like,
It was a very like her
why
whole,
would you invite your mom to your wedding?
her whole portrayal of the character was just really strange.
Bizarre.
Do you think she should have read the book? I heard like the theory was like she didn't want to read the book because she wanted the movie to be like its own thing and she wanted to bring her own twist and flair to
That's
it.
like a housewife going, I don't watch it. I
have no
want
idea.
to walk in season 17 not knowing a thing, which
Never heard of
sometimes
it.
I think at this point could be good. I think sometimes you overstudying it might, I get it. But no, I think this is the first time I've ever heard of an actress that doesn't read the book. And then yes, there's an adaptation, it's just a whole different category, but still you would kind of
to at
know
least
what's the
understand,
origin. What's the origin? Yeah.
Or to like get to the heart of the character, be like,
Right.
what is this character all about? And maybe I can tweak it a bit and bring it to life in my own way, but like without having to completely recreate the character altogether.
Ugh. We will soon find out. Taylor Swift. Guess who she didn't invite to the Chiefs game last night in which they won or go to the Super Bowl?
Blake and Ryan.
Blake. Why weren't they invited? Well, this happens too in Hollywood. It's called, when you got a little stink on you, people leave your messages on read.
Mm-hmm.
They are just so busy. And they're like, I just tried to be a friend and help you and gave you the song. And I didn't know Taylor's probably like, I didn't read the book. When she asked me to help with this scene over a glass of Chardonnay with Ryan Reynolds, I did not know that this was a movie about domestic violence.
Well,
I thought it was about a girl who fell in love with a neurosurgeon on a rooftop.
Yeah.
And I thought we're writing a dry bar movie that's going to be what you're going to be watching years from now while getting your hair blown out. I did not know this. So leave me the fuck away. I'm not a dragon. I'm not a writer. I'm just a pop singer, and do not rain on my parade at the second Super Bowl.
She said that or there was a source that revealed that like that was it. They were like, Taylor lent the song to the movie, and that's like the most of her involvement. Like she had no idea. She had no inner workings with the production of the film. Like she had no clue that any of this was going on.
There are photos.
Yeah.
They are friends.
They are friends, yeah. But I mean, now Dragon flew the cave. Like she ain't coming back. She's at peace. Imagine being Taylor Swift and then reading the headlines and seeing the text messages where Blake Lively is comparing herself to Khaleesi and you're her dragon.
Only one of them.
Yeah, only one of the two dragons. You and Ryan Reynolds are the two dragons.
And then also when she's like, thanks for saying that you got the pages and that this was another text, and that you appreciate my contributions. Would have been nice if you said that you liked them. Or didn't she say something that? Or that you would have been more specific? Because now I have to go back to my two dragons.
Yeah.
And you have not specifically complimented them. And he's like, what is going on? And he's trying to placate her. No, you're really great. You're so creative. Like, fuck, what's going on with this? Yeah.
I mean, talk about a mind fuck for him because he's trying to
it's
produce. He's trying
to.
I know. And then you see the clips. Did you when they released the raw footage of them filming the scene together and then Blake's team comes out and they're like, yeah, this proves our case. This proves that she looks absolutely uncomfortable in this scene that they filmed. Did you see the footage?
Yeah, but that's what it was. It was supposed to be like
she
flirty.
Was playing coy.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not into you. And then they literally directed that, like, as he leans in to kiss you, turn around and don't let him kiss you. And then that's exactly what they play out. Yeah, it was.
Why was he wearing a onesie pajamas to bowling?
That was in the book that they were wearing onesies. I don't remember why or what. I like Blake Lively, I did not read the book either. But no, I don't remember why they were wearing onesies, but I know I believe that was a scene in the book.
Are you watching Salt Lake City Reunion?
I am.
And let's talk about one thing, which is Bronwyn. And Bronwyn, in one of the episodes, a jeweler comes.
Yeah.
And presents her with a $4 million necklace, in which she wears it that night in Palm Springs. Now, when she was on Nick Viall's, I listened. And he was like, kind of defending her relationship because, he has a large age difference with his wife now. And he goes, and, of course they're going to be jealous. You have a $5 million necklace. And I remember driving being like, it's only 4. She never corrected him.
Yeah.
She never said it was only 4, but whatever. She never says, actually, I wore it and found it was too much, but we're working on a different piece. She never says it. So they get to the reunion, and Lisa Barlow's like, I know Emma the jeweler. I know Emma the jeweler. And she said, you never bought anything. And she goes, no, Todd and I decided in this economic client, it was a little ostentatious. And I wanted to get a smaller necklace and earrings. And actually, we were in the process of designing. That's not what Emma says. Emma says you didn't get anything. That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what Emma's thinking now, because even all the other, Mary's like, I would never work with her again if she were my jeweler and she were talking like that. And I mean, it is kind of true. Like, you do tank your reputation by going and spilling that gossip to one of the other housewives, knowing that they're likely going to weaponize it on the show.
But on the show, since the beginning of time, and when I say the beginning of time, I'm saying Real Housewife of OC.
OC.
When I was on Chelsea Lately, I look out from the panel and I see Slade and Gina Kino's son, this old school Real Housewives of OC, and this blonde girl that's Slade's new girlfriend. He had broken up with Joe.
Okay.
And somehow, and Lynn Curtin, somehow they met Chewy out one night, rest in peace. So I go, oh my God. I'm like, I'm the only one watching Real Housewives. Nobody knows who these people are.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God. So we go to Chewy's dressing room. And I'm like, I'm a huge fan. I know everything about the show. And I meet the new girlfriend. And I'm like, oh my God, Slade. And I go, and Joe was such a bitch. After you bought all that expensive jewelry for her birthday, she wears the jewelry and goes out with her girlfriends to the nightclub. Now, this is 17 years ago, 16 years. He goes, I never bought that jewelry. That was a jeweler friend of mine that wanted to be featured. Yeah. We never paid for that. Yeah. And so I'm like, this has been going on since the beginning of time.
Yep.
And they know that, but because Lisa's not happy with her, and because, they're all so much about like, you're not as rich and your car is leased and you borrowed something, it's all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Lisa has worn things that were borrowed just for the show and then gave them back and never bought them. Like, everybody does it on every season on Real Housewives. Everything's a loaner.
Right.
Because like why once you wear it on camera once, you know, unless you're Erica with the panther ring, and you're gonna wear that until the end. And the earrings.
Yeah. She ran out of that Pasadena home with that like stuck up her vagina. She was like, that's it. All I need is this one duffel bag. Yeah. Oh my God. But the reunion is good. And what's your general thoughts about the season?
It was a good season.
Yeah.
It was a good season. I like Bronwyn. I like Mary. I like Angie. Like the newbies really, I mean, even though Angie and Mary aren't really new, but I feel like there was just this new energy that they kind of brought that really kind of overshadowed like Meredith and Heather this season that I like. Because I feel like one of them has to go at some point.
What do you think about the, hold on, I'm going to find the photo because I thought I had it. Wait, where is the, oh, here it is. What do you think about the Alibaba of it all? So last night, the Whitney has a curated jewelry line. It's jewelry with a purpose and for jewelry with intention. And it's zodiac signs and Christian stuff and whatever. And then so I remember when this came out and someone realized that the same photo that she was using on her website to promote her jewelry was the same photo that was on Alibaba, which is where you could buy the stuff. This is the cheap of the cheap. You get it, you put it in your little retail store, whatever. And that these items were going for $3.96 into Alibaba, and they're going for $48 on hers. So the story comes out. She tries to say Lisa Barlow put it out there. I personally think some fan figured it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fan who figured out that the earrings that were told to be $10,000 were from Revolve. Right away, someone's like, I saw those earrings. I just bought them today.
Yeah.
And then other Juicy Scoopers helped me like solidify that, yes, they were even bought by her, whatever. And so I'm like, I don't think Lisa had to do this. I think this was, a smaller creator or just a fan gave it to a medium creator who originally put it out. And
no, they posted it. So there was an account that posted this on Instagram stories, and they even showed that when they posted it, Whitney Rose had viewed their story, and they have the screenshot of Whitney seeing their story, seeing that this comparison was already out there before anybody else, before any of the bigger creators started sharing it or talking about it, or like it was months before the show was even filmed.
This is like a Puppygate. Yeah. Where it's like Lisa Vanderpump will go to her grave saying, I did not do this. I just think there's so many people working around. There's the people at the shelter. There's the people who are a PA. There's a nanny of Dorit's. There's the nanny of the woman who she gave the dog to. Like, who's to say where it somehow got? Yeah. And maybe she was privy to it at one point. Yeah. But like, did she actually go out and put this out there to like destroy Whitney's life or whatever? No. Yeah. And so, but then last night, Whitney goes, that was a placeholder. And,
I mean, come on. It's obviously, it was from Alibaba. And like, she's like, they're from curated vendors. Yeah, one of those curated vendors is fucking Alibaba. Like, the cat's out of the bag.
The best part about it is Meredith's voice. Well, did you get your jewelry from Alibaba? Meredith does Alibaba. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, afterwards, I started looking at stuff at Alibaba. I'm like, why the fuck not? RHONY Reunion. They are the most stylish of all the housewives. Look at these looks. This is Sai in this black dress. I guess they were told to do like black and gold. I mean, Jessel in this looks number. Incredible. I mean, they have so much style. And then, of course, Jenna.
I can't with Jenna Lyons.
Jenna Lyons had to be weird and wore a black bathrobe with a thing on her hair, but still kind of fun.
I like her shoes.
And then Erin is pregnant in gold.
Oh my God, we've seen this on Housewives so many times, though, just in the Tom Ford pink version of it.
True. Lisa Vanderpump, my least favorite. Uba
looks great. Her shoe is great.
And the bracelets. Like, they just have really good style. Yeah. Hold on. And then this one I really like. This girl is the new lesbian model, Raquel. This is white, black, and gold. Like, this is such a stunning, stunning dress. I love it. Okay, so, with this whole thing, what is your prediction of what is going to happen with Brynn? And just to get people up to date, Brynn essentially lied and said she told Uba a while back that she had been essayed. And then she was very sexual in the way she always talks and jokes.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Uba was annoyed with her and was because Brynn said, if you're tired at dinner, why are you even here?
Yeah.
Which is what I always talk about. Once they start to go acting like they all work at Kmart and they all clocked in.
Yeah.
And if someone is not participating, not yelling, not fighting, not bringing it, is on their phone or tired, they're like, you're not pulling your weight. Why are you even here? And that ticked off Uba. And Uba's like, don't tell me what I have to do. I'm Uba, whatever her last name is. And she's very self-assured. And so she gets in the van and she's like, don't tell me what I have to do. You know, I got this job because of who I am. You got this job, who knows? Probably because you slept with somebody. Well, then, you know, that is rude. And that's and I don't know who she's sleeping with, what gay producer she had to sleep with.
Yeah.
Clearly, you know, I don't think that's how you get the job at Bravo. But then she takes that, runs with it, and is, upset about it. And the girls are upset. They're like, stop saying that. And then it gets confusing because then Brynn is like, you're like basically saying, I have a dick in my mouth. And then Uba's like, I did not say you have a dick in your mouth. I said you probably slept with someone to get the job. And everyone's like, oh my God, just stop talking. Stop talking. So then Brynn, buzzed, gets more upset and is like, I can't believe she's saying this, especially because I shared with her that I was essayed. Okay. And whatever. So she says it. And it's like, oh my, she says the full word that, you know, if I say it, I don't know. Sometimes I say these things on YouTube and sometimes.
Same.
So they're all like, oh my God, what an insensitive, horrible, cruel bitch. So they're all team her. And then they go to bed and they take off the mics. And then Jessel goes to Uba, like, girls are pretty upset. Like, I don't know why you would say that when you know the background of Brynn. And she's like, I was never told that. And then everyone realizes that Brynn is a pathological liar. And then Brynn does an article for Rolling Stone that comes out, and she compliments all of her castmates. She doesn't say anything mean about them, but she justifies her behavior and is like, I'm very close to Erin. We're like sisters. And then Erin comments, and she's like, we are not sisters. I haven't talked to her in 3 months. I was rooting for her, and now I don't know what the hell is her issue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they bring her back next season. I just don't see how they can. Because nobody, I mean, all the women have publicly distanced themselves. Jenna Lyons did it. Erin, posted her comment. So I don't think that she has, and there's no lifeline. There's no Sheena Shea on the cast that's going to be like, okay, let me play both sides and like be nice to Tom Sandoval. Like, we don't have that with Brynn. And so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she turns into the next Leah McSweeney and wants to sue the network. And joins the reality reckoning right there with Raquel and Leah. And, she says Andy Cohen tried to give her Coke in the bathroom of Watch What Happens Live. She's going to come up with something that producers encouraged her or something. She's going to come up with something to hold against the network if she doesn't get to keep her job. But I don't think she's keeping her job.
No, I don't either. I mean, I don't know, though, that any of them are coming back.
That's my thing. That's why I was like, everyone online, everyone's like, fire Brynn, fire Brynn. I'm like, you fucking, like, shut up. None of you are watching the show to begin with. The ratings were terrible. Like, why do you now have an opinion on who should be fired? Scrap it all.
And then
nobody cares about any of them.
And this explosive thing is even hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like
it's not a juicy scandal.
It's not fun. It's like gross. It's like, are you a pathological liar because you had a shitty childhood? So then should we feel sorry for you? But then your lies have caused a lot of pain for other people, and you're just like a weirdo. Like, I don't know.
And then Lizzie Savetsky came out.
So Lizzie was, I talked briefly about this before, but she was on the show.
Yeah.
And I've read more about what has happened because I think I was like a little bit not clear. But I wrote to her and I go, how are you feeling about what's going on with Brynn? She's like, thank God now people are seeing her for who she is. So the story was she is Jewish and she is a matchmaker between Jewish men and women. Okay. Yeah. And so Brynn was like, set me up with a hot, Jew. And she's like, well, we're not that kind of matchmaker. Like, these guys want to be with Jewish women so that the bloodline of the child remains Jewish, and the Jewish is the religion of the mom.
Yeah.
And she then says, oh my God, the bloodline, then you're as bad as, I don't know if she said the N-word, meaning Nazi, Nazi, but she insinuated that. And then that really upset Lizzie because like her whole thing is like she was already getting anti-Semitic stuff.
Yeah.
And this is before October 7th. So then she goes and is talking to the producers about it. And then it was, and then they go, you should have a call with Brynn herself. And while they're having the call, it gets, what happens then? Like
Brynn's trying to explain her side of it because she does kind of allude to, Lizzie, and Brynn compares it to like as if somebody called, because Brynn's half black, if somebody called her the N-word. And she said the N-word on the phone call. Right. Brynn did.
Yes. And so then she's like, what? No, like this is, So then they get off the phone, and then her husband, who was privy to the call because she had put it on speaker, he then talks to the producers and he says, this is just all too scary for us to even get involved with because this girl is, this was it. According to her husband at Hurting, they're on speakerphone with her. They said that Brynn said, I'll say, this was it. She said that Brynn threatened, and I'm just trying to remember the article, so just that she said, if, I'll just go around telling people that you called me that. That was it. Yeah. She threatened it. I'll just say that you called me the N-word.
Yeah.
And
I think she said it was like, it's basically like calling me the N-word. And I think but I think Brynn plays in this way where like she kind of alludes to certain things.
Right. But it sounded like she,
but it was like a threat that she was.
I'll say this. And that's what then made them upset.
Yeah.
And then in relaying the story
the husband.
is when the husband said the word.
Yeah.
And that made the producers just go, oh my God. Yeah. And then, but also she was like, get me out of this.
Yeah.
And she never made a dime.
Yeah. And
she never got paid for the things that she filmed.
Yeah. He didn't call Brynn the N-word. He was quoting Brynn by saying, and she said she would do this. And he used the word without saying the N-word. He used the full word. And then that's when they decided to just nix them.
But they wanted out too. Because they were just like,
I think they saw that Brynn was just a liability.
Liability. And like the whole thing is like in watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and Mary saying like, well, I got upset with Angie because I have abandonment issues. My mom and I'm like, listen. This is who they choose. They choose fucked up people.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're kind of funny because they're like a fucked up socialite, like Sonia.
Ramona.
And it's funny. And Sonia is as funny and fucked up as she is. I always was a Sonia fan because she never did anything like outwardly cruel or manipulative or planning or premeditated to hurt a cast member.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Never in all those years. She was sloppy and she was whatever, but she was like, I'm going to knock you out. Like fall. Like things like that. Like, but this is just like now but then you can get other fucked up people.
Yeah.
That have sad childhoods or whatever. And, and like Mary's like, my mother left me too. Yeah, because you married her stepdad.
Yeah.
You married her stepdad.
Her husband. Her mom wasn't.
She said my mom. Yeah. Because she married the grandmother's husband and took over the church, and the mom supposedly wanted the church. Mm-hmm. But she was like, too late, I'm marrying the So it's like, that is sad and weird, but like, if that's who you're getting, then you also might get
the Brynns.
Real liability stuff like this that goes
or like
dark.
Brandy.
Huh?
Like Brandy.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know how to filter or they don't think things through and they just do and say things because that was like an issue in Beverly Hills where a lot of the women were afraid to film with Brandy because they never knew what was going to come out of her mouth.
Right. Zach, such a delight. Looking cuter than you've ever looked before.
Thank you.
Killing it. Tell everybody where they can get more of you and your great content.
Yes. No Filter with Zack Peter streams live on YouTube Monday through Friday and available on all podcast platforms.
Thank you, honey. Follow him and let's see. Oh, we never said. Oh, wait. We said the prediction. The prediction was that they would settle.
They would settle. It's not going to go to trial. There's no way.
Okay. Mine is that they'll settle and then that she might
leave him.
Yes.
And write a book. Meghan Markle. She's going to take Meghan Markle's deal. She'll be like, Meghan Markle's not taking it. I'll take the deal.
Not that I want any family to break up.
It ends with divorce.
Exactly. Maybe possibly. Thank you.